Welcome to the Passive Income Revolution podcast, where we help you create the life that you dream of. Whether it's through real estate, entrepreneurship, or just savvy investing, we're here to help you make that dream life a reality. No matter if it's that yacht in the ocean or just a little extra time with your kids, we're here to help you. Welcome back to the Passive Income Revolution podcast. I recently learned that I was missing out on an integral part of what I needed to be the best entrepreneur and small business owner that I could be. Going about my day-to-day life in the past 12 months or so, I've lost track of something that created a spark within me, and that really was my driving force for why I chose to be an entrepreneur. I recently had the opportunity to become reacquainted with this, and it has led to an amazing reigniting of my inner spirit, my inner drive, and it's also helped me provide better direction to those that are relying on me, like my employees. The reason I became an entrepreneur is mostly for freedom of time. It's for the ability to have control over my day, where I need to be, and what I respond to. One of the great things I love is when somebody calls me, like a family member, and they need my help urgently, I can drop things to be there for them. I can drop whatever I'm doing, go there, help them, and I don't have to answer to anyone. I don't have to ask for permission. I can just go and do it. But there's another side to the freedom of time that is almost more important for me. And that's traveling, vacations, going to places. As a child, I was very fortunate that my family was heavy on vacations. We've gone to Florida numerous times. We went to Arizona. We went to Missouri, Iowa, Ohio. We went a lot of different places, and I was very blessed because I realized that's not the norm for a lot of families. A lot of families out there are lucky to get one vacation a year, and it might actually be going to a cabin or someone else's cabin. It's not going to nicer resorts like my family and I were doing and going to Disney World, things like that. I know I was extremely fortunate. Having that childhood, it really instilled in me a passion for travel. And it was something that I got to expand in high school, because I got the opportunity to travel to Spain. I spent 3 weeks in Spain as a sophomore, and that is when I fell in love with international travel. Now, since then, I've been lucky enough. I've been able to go to France and England as well. And normally, as an entrepreneur for the past 6 years, I've gone on 2 to 3 vacations per year. Usually there's one big one and then 1 or 2 small ones. Last year, my big trip was a road trip out to Maine, where my husband and I stopped by Boston, and then on the way back, we went to Niagara Falls. The year before that, my big road trip was out to North Carolina. I went to the Biltmore Estate, a presidential site. I stopped by a Civil War battlefield on the way home. And normally, I do one of those per year. And then I'll do a little mini vacation where I might go 3 or 4 days away, and it's usually rather local. It's nothing too far away. This year, I got into August of 2019. I looked at my calendar and I realized I hadn't taken a vacation yet. At all. Not a small one, not a big one even. I thought the entire part of these vacations was about self-fulfillment. It was about me bringing myself joy and bringing myself happiness. Because I am my happiest when I am in a new city, a different city. I am just above and beyond the moon when I am on a road trip to another state or getting on a plane to go to another country or to fly somewhere. Like, I'm at my happiest when I am traveling. And it's nothing against being home, by the way. It's not to say that I hate my home or anything like that. But for me, experiencing other places is what really sparks joy within my soul. And I thought that this was the only benefit that I got from these vacations. But I became reacquainted with the idea that there is more to these vacations for me than just the personal fulfillment. In August of this year, I hit the 13-month mark of not having taken any vacation. So I hadn't gone on a long one since our road trip to Maine, and I hadn't gone on any small ones at all either. And at first, I didn't think this was a big deal. I thought it was just a lapse in my priorities. Like, hey, I usually make travel a priority. That's part of why I became an entrepreneur. But I honestly did put it by the wayside because I was feeling a lot of stress. I didn't feel like any of it was the right time. Like, no, this isn't the right time. Maybe I'll do it again in 3 months. Or maybe I'll do it again in the fall. And I just basically kept making excuses for it. In August, I had a trip kind of fall into my lap. And I decided at that point that I wasn't going to pass it up. So I went with some friends up to Mackinac Island. And Mackinac Island is one of my top 4 happy places. I love going there. I've been there numerous times. It's one of the places we went to when I was a child traveling. My brother got married there. So I really do enjoy being on the island. If you don't know what Mackinac Island is, take a few moments to Google it. I can pretty much guarantee that if you are a person who likes new experiences, you will want to book your own vacation for Mackinac Island for next season. They're closed right now for the season because it is an island without bridges, which means you have to take ferries to get there. So they do tend to close as a whole in October. So you're going to have to wait till next year now. But this trip fell on my lap to go with some friends, and I couldn't pass it up. So I set aside the 5 days in my calendar in September, and we went to Mackinac Island. I had an amazing time at Mackinac Island. Being back in that place, I hadn't been there for almost 15 years. Being back in that place just brought so much joy and clarity and fulfillment. It was just instant happiness. As soon as I stepped off the ferry onto that island, it was like the entire world was gone and it had disappeared. I didn't have any weight on my shoulders. I wasn't thinking about things with the business. I wasn't worrying what's going on with my investments. I was just there in the moment. The night before we departed, I had already made the decision that I wasn't going to check my email at all, personal or work. I wasn't going to check any of that. I had an out of office message up, and that's what was staying up. I wasn't going to check it, nothing like that. I wasn't going to deal with any business. I also wasn't going to go on social media, either for business or personal. I put up on my Facebook thing, hey, I'm taking a social media break. See you all in 5 days. I'll see you then. I didn't do any of that. Not even when I was like waiting in line in a store. I didn't pull up my phone and check Facebook. When I was waiting on the ferry, I didn't pull up my phone and check Instagram. I took all these pictures, but I didn't post them to Instagram. And actually, I still haven't posted them to Instagram, which I do feel bad about because I really should take the opportunity to share my vacation with you guys because it's an amazing place to go. If I can get other people to go there and feel the same happiness I felt and feel when I go there, that makes it even better for me. So I didn't do any social media. I didn't do any email. I really steered clear of TV, anything like that. I'm not a person who goes on vacation and spends time in the hotel room. If I'm on vacation, I need to be outside the hotel room. I like to limit being in the hotel room to sleeping at night. And if I truly need a little bit of a break, then I'll give myself that. But other than that, I want to be out there experiencing things. I want to be going out to eat in the city. I don't want to be eating in the room. I want to be out doing things and not watching TV in the hotel room. So I made sure that this trip was like 100% everything I want in a trip. There was no email. There was no social media. There was very limited TV. And I spent very little time in the hotel room. Now, that's not to say I don't spend time in the hotel, because often what I'll do is I'll take a book and I'll go down to the lobby, or I'll sit on the front porch, in the case of Mackinac Island, and I'll read there. But I just like that I can read in a different environment. I can do things in a different environment. I can journal in a different environment. I can go out and take a bunch of creative photographs that just make me happy and help me capture the moment and the memories. So I built my entire vacation around what I wanted, what I didn't want, and what I wanted, which was reading time, thinking time, and time away from my pressures. And that's 100% what I got out of this. When I was there, I had an amazing time. But what really solidified for me the necessity of vacations was when I got back. That was when I saw the difference. Over the 13 or so months that it had been since I'd taken a vacation, I never quantified myself as exhausted or drained. I still thought I was functioning pretty much at my peak level. Maybe instead of being at 95%, I was at 85%, maybe 90%. But I really didn't think that there was that much of a difference in my clarity and my focus prior to my vacation. Like, I didn't think I was failing at all, because there wasn't this feeling of, oh man, I wish I could go on vacation, or oh man, if I could just go away for a few days and forget it all. I didn't really have that feeling. So I didn't think that there was anything necessarily wrong with my daily production. When I got back and I had a rejuvenated spirit, I realized how incredibly wrong I was. But I didn't notice it instantaneously. It wasn't like I stepped off the ferry, got in the rental car, and I was like, oh man, this is what it feels like. No, it was nothing like that. When I got back home and I started back into my day-to-day life as an entrepreneur and a small business owner, I didn't necessarily notice it right away. But after a couple of weeks, when I looked back at what I was accomplishing and where my passion was, where my focus was, it made me realize that perhaps the lack of a vacation was affecting me more than I thought. And I was oblivious to it, because I didn't necessarily notice a difference pre and post right away. Pre-vacation, I was still getting things done, but it focused more on the busy work. I was making busy work for myself. Post-vacation, I noticed my focus became more about the direction, the vision for the company. And for me, that is a huge thing in my role as CEO. In my role as CEO, I'm responsible for providing the vision and direction for the company so that my employees know where they're going, what we're doing, and what's expected of them. They want to know what the horizon looks like as much as I do. In a small business, they want to know that, hey, we're growing, which means I have more job security, which means I can get comfortable in this position. I can feel fine with my kids being in the school districts. I don't have to worry that we're going to have to move. They want to see this from their CEO because it lends them stability. I had been failing in that respect. I thought I was performing well as a CEO because I was doing things for the company. But what I realized was because I lost my vision, I lost my spark. What I was doing was busy work. It wasn't necessarily getting us where we needed to be. And I also wasn't empowering my employees with direction that would help them get us where we're going. And as the CEO of the company, that's a huge problem. That's a huge disservice to my employees who are here, who are loyal, that they want to help grow the business. And if I don't have that spark and that creativity, then there's not really anything that's building this company and getting us in the right direction. When I came back from my vacation, I made it a point to, number one, focus on alternative revenue streams. I've been talking about for a while about creating a course for entrepreneurs, various courses for entrepreneurs, maybe even real estate investors. And I sat down and I said, okay, by 7:30 tonight, I'm going to have a clear-cut direction about which way I'm going, entrepreneurship or investing. I'm going to have an idea of what courses I can teach. By the end of that 2.5 hours, I decided on investing, and I had already thought of a list of about 12 different courses that I could teach. This was because of my new clarity that I gained from recharging on my vacation. The next thing I did was I committed to this podcast. Again, another thing I had talked about probably close to a year ago now was starting a podcast. I'd hemmed and hawed over it. I did a little bit of research. I thought it was more complicated than it needed to be. And I thought, well, you know what? I just don't have time for this right now. And I put it off to the side. But then when I came back, I 100% committed and said, if there's so many people doing podcasts today, and there's so many out there, it can't be as difficult as I think it is to do one. And that's when I found Anchor. Anchor took away 90% of my roadblocks with creating a podcast. So this then became a goal that I executed on. And I executed on it because of my reignited passion from my vacation. But yet the biggest thing I got out of my vacation is the ability to create direction for my employees. One of my employees had been feeling like a ship at sea without a map. Like she was out there operating, but she didn't quite know what was expected of her, what I wanted her to do, and where she could help fit in regards to things that made her feel passionate about the industry. When I got back, I sat down and I created this list of things that she can do that will fulfill her need for creativity within the company. It will help us grow the company. And it also gave her a sense of direction. I gave her goals. I gave her responsibilities. I gave her things to do consistently. These weren't just one and done tasks. I opened up realms of recurring tasks to her that will help grow and build this business. And it also requires some creativity from her, which is what brings her joy and passion in her job. And beyond all that, I am absolutely on fire now. Every month, I have a list of 5 goals that I want to accomplish. October, I accomplished 4 out of the 5 goals. And they were big, multi-tiered goals. It wasn't like, oh, okay, so this month we're going to create this checklist. No, I mean, I'm talking big goals. Big goals about launching this podcast. Big goals about redoing the maintenance employee manual. Big goals about recreating our checklists and our procedures so that those are up to date and we can use them again. And again, our checklists aren't just small things. We have a checklist for move-in, checklist for move-out, checklist for lease renewal. We have a checklist for everything. And these checklists are what help us function like a smooth organization. So my goals are not small. But what was huge for me was whereas August, I had failed to plan anything. September, I kind of planned, but not a lot. But October, I was damn sure to plan my month. I planned the goals, the individual tasks that would let me get to that goal. And because I set individual tasks within the goal, those are like my mile markers. It's sort of like when you're running a marathon and you get to the water station, you're like, oh, okay, great. So I'm this far along in my race. Because I had small tasks within my goals, I knew how far along in my race I was to completing this goal. Now that we're into November, I've planned November. I already have one of my goals done for November, and as of the day I'm recording this, I believe it's November 5th. So I'm already knocking it out of the ballpark, and I am performing at the level I should be, the level I thought I was performing before my vacation. But it turns out I was only faking it. We're going to pause on our information for a moment because every podcast, I like to give you 2 facts about myself so we really do get to know each other and you feel like you are getting to know me as a person. Now, this has been a rather personal podcast. I've actually divulged a lot of things about myself already. So I'm going to pick 2 of those things and just recap them for you. So the first fact about me is that I am an international traveler. I have been very blessed to have the opportunity to go to Spain, where I visited Madrid, Barcelona, Cordoba, many other cities, but honestly, my memory is failing me now that it's almost 20 years in the past. I also recently went to France, where I went to the town of Versailles. Yes, that is a town, as well as the palace, but then I also went to Paris. And then in England, I have been to London. And honestly, international travel is one of my big goals for the next couple of years, is to get back to Paris, get back to London, because there is a lot to do in both of those cities. And it's really hard to do it on one combined trip. So my goal is to go back to London for its own trip for like 6 days, and then another like 5-day trip to Paris. My second fact about me is I do have siblings. I have an older sister and I have an older brother, so I am the baby of the family. I also have a brother-in-law who has been in my family since I was 3 years old, so I don't know what life exists without my brother-in-law, so I always call him my brother. Going through grade school and high school, everyone asked, "Oh, how many sisters do you have? How many brothers do you have?" I always said I had 1 sister and 2 brothers because I don't know life without my brother-in-law. Like every memory I have, he was around for them. He was part of our family. So for me, I've always had 2 brothers. And I remember early on in my grade school career, I guess, per se, some of the teachers would try and correct me, but then when I got into 3rd, 4th grade and I was much more assertive and I could communicate better, I'm just like, no, I mean, my entire life I've known this person. So he is my brother. We're not giving any distinction. We're not saying he's not my brother. He is my brother. End of story, teacher. If you are someone who is an entrepreneur with employees, don't underestimate the importance of your time to recharge. For me, my recharge mostly comes when I take these vacations. Sure, I could recharge at home, maybe over a couple days of not working, but it's not going to be quite the same as if I'm out there doing my happy thing and recharging that way. If you are someone who has employees that relies upon you, recharge so that you can have more clarity, more direction, and more energy to put your vision out there, because they are looking to you for the future, what the vision is. They are looking for you to tell them where they should be going, what they should be doing, what they shouldn't be doing. The tricky thing is, you might not even realize that you're not firing on all cylinders as a leader because you haven't recharged. You might be thinking to yourself like I did, oh no, I'm going fine. I'm still at 85, 90%. I'm still totally killing the CEO thing. I've got this. But then after recharging, you find out, wait a minute, I really didn't have it. I was only performing at 50, 60%, and I wasn't even doing the things I should have been doing. Because somewhere along the way, I lost my way and I didn't recognize it. So as a small business owner, I want to challenge you to figure out what recharges you the quickest and the most efficiently. What can you do that you love, that you enjoy, that brings you the most amount of spark and passion back into your soul? Once you've figured out what that is, make sure that you are scheduling it into your calendar at least 2 to 3 times per year. Schedule that time in there where you go away, you leave the business, you leave everything about it, and you go and be yourself. You be a person, a friend, a brother, a sister, a child, a spouse, a partner. You go and do whatever you need to recharge, and then you come back, guns blazing, guns out, and you get your shit done. And you get your shit done for your employees so that they know what's going on and what's expected of them, so that together, as a team, you can slay the world.